What is the difference between input field and input text? Input field. An HTML input element for a value that corresponds to a field on a Salesforce object. The Apex InputField component respects the attributes of the associated field, including whether the field is required or unique, and the user interface widget to display to get input from the user. For example, if the specified Apex InputField component is a date field, a calendar input widget is displayed. When used in an Apex page block section, Apex InputField tags always display with their corresponding output label. From component reference. In simple language, it's the field on the object and you can have any data type, which users can input. Example: pick list, lookup, checkbox and or multi-select pick list, etc. Input text. An HTML input element of type text. Use this component to get user input for a controller method that does not correspond to a field on a Salesforce object. This component does not use Salesforce styling. Also, since it does not correspond to a field or any other data on an object, custom code is required to use the value the user inputs. From component reference. This is a field on the object, which is of data type text. Users can use to input only text using this field. You cannot use this for pick lists, checkboxes, or any other data type. Difference between input field and output field components? Input field. An HTML input element for a value that corresponds to a field on a Salesforce object. It respects attributes of the associated field, like whether the file is unique or mandatory. If it is pick list, display automatically pick list input widget is displayed. If we use input field under page block section, it always display with their corresponding output label. Output field. Output field. A read-only display of a label and value for a field on Salesforce object. It also respects attributes of the associated field, like if it is currency field, the appropriate currency symbol is displayed. Output field must be child of page block or page block section item. Or input text. An HTML input element of type text. Use this component, get the user input for a controller method that does not correspond to a field on a Salesforce object. Input text does not use Salesforce styles. Output text. Displays text on a Visualforce page. Customize the appearance of the component using the CSS styles. This component doesn't respect the view encrypted data permission. So instead, use output field component to prevent showing sensitive information to the unauthorized users. What is the difference between single email message and mass email message? Single email message. The single email message can send message related to only single record. Set target object ID, the ID of the contact, lead, or user to which the email will be sent. Used for single record. Syntax: messaging.single email message. Mass email message. Mass email message can send mails related to multiple records, WAD ID and target object ID. Set target object IDs, a list of IDs of the contacts, leads, or users to which the email will be sent. Used for multiple records. Syntax: messaging.massmail message. Difference between page layouts and field level security? Page layouts. Controls display of details and edit page. Controls page section customization. Allows you to set field properties. Can be unique for specific business. Field level security. Defines users' access to view and edit fields in Salesforce. Helps data security. Helps users to view relevant data. Hides field from user, list view, search, reports. Difference between list, set and map? List. Ordered collection of primitive data types, subjects, enums, etc. It allows duplicate values. It follows insertion order. Set. unordered collection of elements. It doesn't allow duplicate values. It doesn't follow insertion order. When we try to add duplicate element is not added and add method returns false. Map. Map is a key-value pair. Keys represents unique and primitive value can be primitive, subjects, collection, apex objects. It will not follow insertion order. When we try to give duplicate key, put, return existing key value and replace existing key value with new value. Difference between apex output label and apex output link. Apex output label. The output label tag renders an HTML label element. It allows you to customize the appearance of the label using CSS styles. The output label component is associated with another component via its for attribute. The other component must be created before the output label component when the JSF page is rendered. Note the use of the panel group container in the example below. The panel group component renders its children, allowing the output label component to locate the input text component at render time. Example. HTML output. Apex output link. A link to a URL. Apex output link component is rendered in HTML as an anchor tag with an ref attribute. Like its HTML equivalent, the body of an Apex output link is the text or image that displays as the link. To add query string parameters to a link, use nested Apex perm components. Example. HTML output. Difference between Force.com IDE and Sandbox? The Force.com IDE is a powerful client application for creating, modifying, testing and deploying Force.com applications. Based on the Eclipse platform, it provides a comfortable environment for programmers familiar with integrated development environments, allowing you to code, compile, test, and deploy all from within the IDE itself. Sandbox. The Salesforce.com Sandbox environment is an exact copy of your Salesforce.com instance. You can copy your live instance to a Sandbox environment. You can either copy your configuration and data into a Sandbox environment or just the configuration. Developer Edition. Developer Edition was an edition created for development of integrations and apps, specifically for the App Exchange. You have to perform manually from Sandbox to Developer Edition. You cannot copy your configuration or data onto the Developer Edition, but you can customize it to match your instance's look and feel. Difference between Jump Start Wizard and Standard Wizard? The Jump Start Wizard creates a one-step approval process for you in just a few minutes. The Standard Wizard is useful for complex approval processes. Jump Start Wizard. The Jump Start Wizard is useful for simple approval processes with a single step. Use the Jump Start Wizard if you want to create an approval process quickly by allowing Salesforce to automatically choose some default options for you. Standard Wizard. The Standard Wizard is useful for complex approval processes. Use it when you want to fine-tune the steps in your approval process. The standard wizard consists of a setup wizard that allows you to define your process and another setup wizard that allows you to define each step in the process. What is the difference between Database.QueryLocator and Iterable in Batch Apex in Salesforce? Database.QueryLocator. 50 million records can be returned. Iterable subject. Governor limits will be enforced. So, we can use up to 50,000 records only. Else, exception will be thrown. You can also use the iterable to create your own custom process for iterating through the list.